this is the border. There's no fence, no gate, no nothing. All they have is a ditch, and you know, they walk right across it. You can see the tracks. Easy enough. Right down here, the U.S. government built them a tunnel so they can sneak onto our property a lot faster. Here's where they poured the cement for extra stability for the culvert, and as you can see, they didn't even wait for the cement to dry. They were so busy on crossing. You know, this is one of the ongoing battles we have is, you know, there ain't nothing stopping them from coming over. So, it's just another one of them things. A lot of the Mexicans in Border Patrol, they won't wave at you, you know. They really get pissed at you. A couple Mexicans that work there, they're pretty cool. They'll wave, we got a good rapport with them. But, you know, there's a 50-50 grouping in Border Patrol of people who want to open borders and people who don't. So, you know, they really don't like people down here stopping the illegals from coming through. Now, we won't go that much farther east, but as you can see down there, we have, I'm not too sure if that's a private ranch or if that's customs, but you can see right to the right of it, that's Mexico. And from right there is where they drive their drug vehicles from. They hop this border road. Usually they hit this little road right down here, and that brings them right into the property, basically right down to the windmill right by the house, and to get away from Border Patrol.
I have proudly affirmed that the Mexican nation extends beyond the territory enclosed by its borders, and that Mexican migrants are a very important part of it.
Now, essentially, this fellow is talking to the National Council of La Raza, the race, a group founded with money from the Ford Foundation. And essentially he is saying that Mexico is extending its borders by sending illegal aliens across the border. Since he said that, millions of Mexicans have crossed. They're now demanding their own language. They're demanding all driver's licenses and everything else. Then he goes on to say, for this reason, now listen to this.
For this reason, my government proposed a constitutional amendment,
and he says,
to allow any Mexican with the right and the desire to acquire another nationality to do so without being forced to first give up his or her Mexican nationality. Now
listen to them applaud. 5,000 people cheering the takeover of the United States by migratory tactics. And what he's saying is, you're going to be able to keep your Mexican nationality or citizenship. You're going to be a dual citizen. You're going to be able to vote in the United States in the interest of Mexico and vote in Mexico. Elena Poniatowska, who is a leading writer, a Mexican intellectual, Elena Poniatowska. Mexico is recovering the territories ceded to the United States with migratory tactics. That's what she said. Jose Angel Gutierrez of the University of Texas.
We cannot, we will not, and we must not be made illegal in our own homeland.
This is their homeland.
We are not immigrants.
We're not immigrants.
From another country
to another country. We are migrants.
Free to travel the length and breadth of the Americas because we belong.
We belong here.
We're indigenous people
from here. We need no passport. Okay. Mario Obledo, who won the 1998 Presidential Medal of Freedom from Bill Clinton, what did he say?
We're going to take over all the political institutions of California. In 5 years, the Hispanics are going to be the majority population of the state.
Yeah.
You also made the statement that California is going to become a Hispanic state, and that if anyone doesn't like it, they should leave. Did you say that?
I did. They ought to go back to Europe.
Art Torres. Who's Art Torres? He's the chairman of the California Democratic Party. Remember 187, the one that Gray Davis killed? Well, right after it passed, Art Torres had something to say about Proposition 187.
Remember, 187 is the last gasp of white America in California.
Okay. Spencer, what are you worried about? The president of Mexico says they're taking over, right? The university professor says this is their land. The great writer says they're using migratory tactics. A winner of the Presidential Medal of Freedom says if you don't like it, go back to Europe. And now the head of the California Democratic Party says 187 was the last gasp of white. What are you worried about? These people are marching right in, taking over, telling us they're doing it, right? Telling us this is what they're doing. We merely try to point out what's going on. And once again, we're racist and we're crazy.
Border Patrol is totally overrun. There's no way that they can catch every person that comes across this border. I believe they're catching maybe 20 or 30%. And the other 70, 80% are going anywhere USA. They're coming to your town.
One message, but that's not her. Again, our goal today, what we hope is that when we go out here, we're going to find Border Patrol in our spot because of what we told them last night. So let's see if they're responding again to the citizens' help and to the intelligence we've given them. They should be sitting in this spot. You know, at this point, we'll stay. We've got about 2 good hours of patrol time. You know, we'll put in a short shift of patrol too. But after dark, with only 3, it's not safe. It's not wise. We've got a Border Patrol agent out there right now in his vehicle. He's sitting out on the river, so they're patrolling out here already. I don't hear any chatter on the scanners right now, so it's kind of quiet. You know, unfortunately, you have to know how these folks work too, and you've got to be really in touch with their culture, which again, the only thing they seem to respect and revere is the unknown. Or a gun. I mean, and again, like we say, we don't go around brandishing weapons. We have a right to carry open. And in fact, most of the people carry concealed. Almost everyone in the group has a concealed weapons permit. So that, again, it can't be construed, you know, that us being out here, that we're threatening these people. And most of the women, we like them to carry their weapons openly. It's just an added sense of, it's a message that just says these women, don't mess with them. You know, because they will protect themselves. And I tell you, nothing makes some of these macho young men angrier. Nothing makes them more angry than, you know, being stopped by a woman with a gun out of this one small area right along this ridge here. Since last April, a good 1,700 people we've pulled out of here. Tools of the trade. Binoculars, video camera, digital still camera, water, flashlight. That's all you need to help out with border security. It's not a real high-tech job. It's not rocket science. And the United States government says they can't fix the problem. Yeah. This is the curve. You can see the trail right here. And the trail originates way back up this draw. And so the reason we picked this spot is because we had the trees over there. So Carmen will be sitting there. She can look down the trail and see the group coming. That alerts Craig, who's sitting here. And basically, we let them walk around the curve. Border Patrol hasn't arrived by that time. Then we're just sitting here and we just wave and say hola and buenos dias, and we ask them who they are and if they've come legally or illegally, and typically they'll just sit down. If they don't know who we are, we're an unknown entity. They clearly know we're not Border Patrol, and so it's the bluff. Can we keep them here and engage them in conversation long enough until Border Patrol arrives, or they finally either go back or just continue to walk on past us? And at that point, if I stop them, I'm the one that goes to jail. What I do now is I'll walk back, and I'm going to go back over this ridge, and I'm going to position myself in a way back there where I can see pretty deep back into the wash with my binoculars. That way I can alert the group that there's a group approaching, and then they make the call to Border Patrol. And that gives us a good 10 minutes, 15-minute leeway before they would arrive in this area. By that time, then I would drop in the trail behind them after they've already passed underneath me. And so I'm just another outlet, and we just sort of create this perimeter that's at a really safe distance, and the bluff is on.
Remember, this is the north trail, and you're going to be on the south trail. So don't tell me that they're right in front of you coming on the south trail unless you really mean it, because I'll get up and start moving over, and if they're on my trail, they see me, and then they scatter like bumblebees in a fire. Usually when they get to here, they're in a hurry. But some of the freelance groups that start further in because they want to avoid the Madrinos, the paramilitary drug runners that insist upon tribute. So they stay back 3 or 4 miles from the border, and then they start, and they want to get around them. So they may get into the United States and then stop after about 4 or 5 miles. Got more lights than people. Damn politics is going to screw us up. All the politically active members we have to go to meetings, you know. It's very serious. And they had dinner and occasional glasses of wine, I suspect. That's too bad, because I know in an hour, if everything went well, we could have 50 people right out here, sitting down.
Right, they came in early, and they're going to come in here just about the time we leave.
That's correct.
We put in a couple hours of watching. As soon as we leave Border Patrol, we know they're here. That's all we want. I would sit here a little longer if there were no Border Patrol. Because they will be coming every night. Anything they can do to portray us or to catch us doing anything wrong. I mean, to the point of littering. I've had BLM rangers out here last year when we were on the river, and we're picking up trash. And they were going to arrest me and ticket me for picking up trash that the illegals left behind. You know? With some ludicrous thing about it being a protected area and you can't remove any artifacts.
I think they should arrest him for
and then they are,
because he wants me to help him.
Yeah. and he's giving me a crock of shit about, I could arrest you for removing evidence from a crime scene. I thought, you play right into my hands, don't you? I mean, it's exactly what I want to say. I print that stuff in my paper and just make fools of the statements they make. And what are you doing out here spending taxpayers' money bothering us for? And again, our reputation speaks for itself. 2,700 plus people, not one mistake.
So what we're going to see here in a minute is an infrared camera of these dudes walking along the border right here. They don't know we're here. It's very dark, but we've forgotten, left the red light running on the camera. And as they walk up in the pitch black, they say, "Uh-oh, what's that? What's that?" They're looking around and they see the red light, and then they take off. And there were exactly 10 of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think it was 10. It was the number that our sensor had said was there, and they took off running. And then we called the Border Patrol, and they never did anything about it. Now this has happened over and over and over again. This is why you have maybe 15 million illegal aliens. Now, how is it that we're able, with just a little bunch of civilians, to design their own sensor and can go down and take first-hand pictures of these people coming in, and our government doesn't know where they are? It's ridiculous. Of course they know where they are. Of course they know. They want them to come in. They want it to appear as if they're doing something. So the Border Patrol tears around, tearing up the saguaro cactus and scaring the life out of birds and animals so that they can make it look like they're doing something. Sure, they apprehend a lot of people. Remember, they don't arrest them. There's a difference. Well, what do they do with them? What do they do with them? They put it back across the border so they can try again in a couple of hours.
You've got Border Patrol agents all over the place who are whistleblowers saying, we can't do our job because the federal government won't let us do our job. And President Bush has proved that again. He slapped the Border Patrol in the face. Border Patrol agents out there are frustrated beyond belief. The guys we talked to last night. Here they are sent out there by some supervisors who are worried about us getting attention on television or worried about us violating someone's rights when their job is to respond to our call and protect our country. So I've had supervisors out there in the field. Here's a group of people sitting on the ground. They don't know who they are. We don't know if they've got weapons. You don't know what's going to go on. And they totally ignore them and shake us down.
The Border Patrol guy just called us into the supervisor. What has happened is that they just came down to check on us, see where we were, so they know exactly where we are and what vehicles are in here. And they're always more concerned about us than the hundreds that are pouring over.
In fact, we've had times where we've come in here and the Border Patrol, when they were harassing us at times, they would set a Border Patrol agent out here on a hill watching us. And as soon as the Border Patrol agent would leave, a group would come out right underneath where he was sitting. They were sitting there the whole time. And they were just waiting for him to leave. And as soon as he left, they would come out and walk right into us being there, not knowing that we were there. And here the Border Patrol agent has to be called right back. And we go, hey, were you the guy that was just here? Yeah, that group was sitting right under you, about 20 feet.
This is all political. It's too stupid to be anything other than political.
It's right next to Mr. Kovac's land, who just had his, his home shot up.
Trailer burned down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read about
Is he speaking out about it?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He did, and
But he doesn't blame
I'll
the
tell you what,
mine.
I'm afraid for him. The man's going to end up dying.
The man is going to croak.
They're going to kill him.
They're going to kill him next time.
And again, here we go, and I'll tell you, the next thing you'll hear is that he's had to pack up and leave his own land.
He's going to get scared and leave.
Because he can get no protection from the federal government.
Nobody talks about how many of these vacant properties that are just abandoned.
You got landowners.
They don't talk about the Border Patrol agent that suddenly turned up gone from the house right on the road we just came off. It stayed vacant for, I don't know what the law says, a year before they can sell it because nobody knew where the Border Patrol agent went. Well, I know where he went. A little hole in the desert somewhere. You know damn well they killed him.
It's a war. I take my daughter.
It's politics. I know it's got to be politics.
I take my daughter to the school bus. There's people under the culvert. Who are these men? And I drive her. There's teenagers and small kids that walk to the school bus and they're standing right there with 12 illegals laying in the grass. Who are these men? They're not one of our neighbors. They're not somebody that we trust or know. We don't know how they were raised or if they had just been deported for child molestation and came back again. We don't know who these people are by our kids. It's not a safe situation. I'm a painter. In the last 2 years, I started buying guns. And I never leave my gate unless I'm armed. And there's always people outside my gate.
I've had them camped out in my yard. You name it. Human feces on my property, tampons on my property, urine, drugs.
Well, look, the environmental damage alone, when you live in what was once a pristine place like Cochise County, the environmental damage alone is a disgrace.
Yeah, nothing new except that water bottle back there. They got picked up so fast they didn't even drink all their water. Lots of times we'll find big boxes of Church's chicken and potatoes and gravy and a carton of Coke just sitting like behind a tree or something. Left for them. And they'll come back like at the pickup time. They might be coming in 3-4 hours early to leave them food. Of course, my dog enjoys that food very much. Uh-oh. They left their bra. They left their bra. And they got a... Oh, they smoke Benson and Hedges, and they got a sanitary napkin. And their name is... Oh. Sneaky little devils. They took the They took the boarding pass with them, just in case. Well, their name is Angel with hearts. Angel. When you invade, you gotta have your bra. A pornographic cartoon featuring white women. Yeah. Oh, I think, is this the lesbian that gets saved by the big, strong, vicious-looking man? It's a Mexican dream come true.
We got it. Right here is where your tracks start to multiply. We're being invaded, America. Once upon a time, there was a swing in this tree, and you could bring your children here to swing in the oak tree, and you could have a family picnic under this tree, and your children could play out here. Once upon a time. That's human shit. Not cow poop. And if they had any disease, then you're exposed to it. Look at all the toilet paper behind you. It's like a third world country out there. It's a campsite. It's where they lay up. They're hiding from Border Patrol, or they get some sleep before they go on. Change their clothes. If you look in there, you'll find toothpaste and deodorant, all the normal stuff. It's in the Cochise County desert. This is cows chewing on clothes, and wildlife chews on this. And then the ranchers' cows die. They eat plastic bags and this garbage, packets of medication, and they die. Last 4th of July, we took 21 bags of trash out from under that oak tree, completely cleaned it. 3 days later, it was camped out again. Here we go. You must have a mother, father, and 2 children. What do you think? 2 children's toothbrushes. You need the appropriate toothbrush.
All right.
For breaking into the country. They got the Colgate. And here's the Colgate. Toilet paper, fresh poopy toilet paper, right next to your feet. Watch out. Plug away. Thirsty, they can ask Border Patrol for a drink of water. A little pair of jeans. Look at all the footprints in here. Well, El Presidente Bush, it appears that in the midst of Homeland Security, 2.5 years after September 11th, when America was attacked, we're still being invaded.
The snow job, or how can I put it, the line that everybody uses, the illegals only take jobs Americans won't do, which may be true in a sense, only in the sense that I find out is jobs that America's done for years. The only difference now is that they can get the illegals at such a low rate. I was a general contractor, and I watched the wage scales being dropped because of illegal aliens. Our competitors are hiring illegals at $6 and $5 an hour when I was paying $8 to $20 or $12 to $20 an hour for my workers. So I couldn't be competitive with my pricing with these guys who hired illegal aliens.
If all you're going to do is offer people an incentive to break the laws and to come into this country and reward them for, felonious behavior, well, of course you're going to have a border problem, because there's no law. Essentially, it's anarchy along our southern border.
Comprende español.
Es que nos abandonó el coyote.
No coyote? Oh.
Nos abandonó, íbamos aquí.
Jesucristo. ¿No más amigos? No? Hi, this is Cindy Kolb, and I'm on the west side of Highway 92, just north of Three Canyons, before Emery Oak, and you got two unhappy campers sitting here. Their coyote took off and left them. Okay, I'll visit with them for a little bit till you get here. Have a nice day. So Mexico, huh? How quaint. You're going to where? California, Phoenix, where?
Phoenix.
Phoenix, yeah. It's probably 1 million in Phoenix. No bueno. No bueno, the casas. It's no bueno. No papers? No? My esposo, aquí, construction, trabajo. The dollars, bueno, bueno. The casa, the car, food, ropa, no problem. You, $4? They say, my esposo, okay, no más. Sí, 4. Bueno, my esposo, no más. Trabajo, no más. For me, no más. No más ropa, no más casa. It's a problem. It's a problem.
Asa Hutchinson comes out here to the border. Since June 1, we're going to have the American Border Control, Arizona Border Control Initiative. And Gus De La Vina says we have a shot at sealing the border this year, sealing it. And then David Aguilar comes out and he says we are going to arrest or detain all of those who come across the border illegally. And so what happened on June 1? Well, nothing. And then on June 2nd, on June 1, we were flying our unmanned aerial vehicle out over the border with CNN Lou Dobbs with us, okay? Flying at night, not just in the daytime, with our infrared camera. We're flying over the border. We spotted a bunch of people. But was the Border Patrol UAV flying, as Asa Hutchinson said it would? No. He showed up in Tucson on June 2nd, said, I forgot. We forgot to get clearance to fly the airplane, to fly the UAV on the border. The government forgot to get permission from the government. So the idea that the Department of Homeland Security can't fly a UAV along the border, God, because of the Department of Defense won't let them?
I could take you down to that border right now and walk you across it and walk you right back across and be out of there before anybody would even know, if anybody even would even care. You know, if that's even if Border Patrol is either A, going to have the manpower to do it, or are they going to worry about just a couple of guys going back and forth across the border when you've got groups of 50 and 75 and 100?
There is absolutely no immigration law enforcement, which means we have no borders, which means we have no nation, which is the goal, as I said, of those in charge.
President Clinton, when he put his name on NAFTA, is the first president ever to put his name on a treaty where the United States concedes its borders. And if you don't know that, all you got to do is pull up a copy of it and read it. There are 3 very important paragraphs that when the president signed that treaty, he agreed not to militarize his borders for any reason, not even in an event of war. President Bush is about to do that again if he signs the Latin American Free Trade Agreement.
What it is the power elite that runs Washington on either side of the aisle has decided that we're going to sacrifice the United States on the altar of globalism. That's just the way it's going to be. And so as a result, we're going to weaken our immigration laws, we're going to weaken our customs, we're going to weaken our food inspections, we're going to weaken all of this stuff so we can have one essentially American empire, Pax Americana, I guess. And this is the way it's going. We have, and so it's symptomatic. This summer we're going to have people dying in the desert, but right here at Fort Huachuca, a mile and a half from where I am. This is where the Army trains UAV pilots. Right. And I've been told by guys who work on the base that the Army could go out and fly the UAVs on training missions and find these people in the desert and save their lives. But they don't want to do that because they don't want to stop the people from coming in. So essentially our government is allowing these people to die. Because just like the nation, they're being sacrificed on the altar of globalism. We are all being sacrificed. Our standard of living, our culture, all right, and what America has been and what it means is being sacrificed. And it's at every level, at every aspect of our government is bent on that goal.
It's globalization. It's one world. They want to erase borders. It's clear. Here's your 100 channels of cable TV. We'll make sure the electricity's on, we'll keep gas cheap enough, and we'll make sure you can make your payments. And aren't you a happy soul? And you just keep buzzing along, and you stay within the rules, and you keep consuming, and you live happily ever after, and we'll have no problem. You don't like it, and you think differently, or you challenge what we're giving you, and we'll make your life hell. If we don't choose this border, again, as the line in the sand, to our own government, about what we the people demand and what we expect from the government, you know, then you might as well just check it in and make sure there's something good on TV every night and stay out of their way. Don't do anything wrong, because you won't stand a chance, you know, even if you do. And then again, you better make sure you keep up on all the laws that are being passed and all of the changes in the rules while you're busy out on a date, you know, or watching sports, or playing into the global culture and the consumerist culture that we have in this society. And while you're not paying attention, everything you think you believe in is quickly just being erased.
The big watershed event in immigration history until 1965 was the law of 1924. Until that time, America's borders had been pretty open to immigration. Of course, at that time, most of the immigrants came from Europe, but increasingly from Eastern Europe and Southern Europe. And that was creating a problem, you know, because these people were different from the Western European immigrants who had come before, who were assimilating quite easily. And I don't think there was ever going to be a big problem with Italian immigration or Eastern European non-Jewish immigration. Those people were a little more difficult to assimilate, certainly. But the big problem was Jewish immigration. Jewish immigrants came to this country, and they were very, very different from the people who were here before. And the most important difference was that they were deeply committed to these leftist political agendas. If you go over to Eastern Europe at that time, political radicalism was a Jewish subculture. A lot of them were intensely Zionist and so on. There was this hotbed because Jews were under extreme pressure in Eastern Europe. Their populations had expanded. A lot of them were impoverished. And their response to this was to become politically radical. So when they came to this country, they were A, poor, but they were B, politically radical. A lot of them were Zionists. They were extremely intense. These were the people who were organizing all these radical leftist movements. They were revolutionary. They supported the Soviet Union. And Americans were just horrified at this. And beginning actually early in the 20th century, there was attempts, and even in the 1890s, to shut down immigration. Jewish activist organizations were at the forefront of keeping it open. And of course their main interest in those years was to get more Jews over from Eastern Europe. So there was a movement in this country to end this free immigration from Europe or elsewhere. And so it came to the head in 1921. They finally passed a law. The purpose of the law really was to create an ethnic status quo. They didn't try to ship the people back that were already here. But they felt that these people were not assimilating well, and we needed a timeout. And the whole point was to create an ethnic status quo. So the idea in the 1924 law that finally solidified all this was to retain the ethnic proportions that were in the country as of the 1890 census, and then later as of the 1920 census. So the point was to have an ethnic status quo. So the percentage of each ethnic group in the country would future immigration would be based on what percentage you were of the country as of 1920. This seemed fair to the people who were behind it, but of course Jewish activist organizations rejected this. They wanted more of their people to come over here. They described it as racist and so on. And basically what was going on was that the great majority of the people in the country were finally saying that they had an ethnic interest in preventing future immigration. They wanted the country as it was. They wanted to be a European, Western European culture. That other groups were welcome and that they would welcome their contributions, but they did not want to be overwhelmed. They didn't want to lose the culture and the ethnic mix that was characteristic of the country at that time. Of course, Jewish organizations lost this battle. So then, after the 1924 bill passed, Jewish organizations didn't stop trying to change it. But then, in the 1930s, you had the Great Depression, and so it was even harder to change the law because people, were not going to allow millions of people into the country when there were already 25% unemployment. But nevertheless, they kept pushing, especially for Jewish immigrants from Europe, because at that time you had the rise of Hitler. And so they kept trying to change things, but nothing much changed until after World War II. The immigration battles heated up again. The 1952 law that was finally passed basically reaffirmed the 1924 law. It was passed over President Truman's veto. Jewish activist organizations were deeply involved in trying to overturn this legislation. So between 1952 and 1965, they never stopped. They kept creating organizations, funding organizations. Finally, by 1965, with the landslide of 1964, bringing Lyndon Johnson in, the Great Society and all that, the immigration law was finally overturned. All the ethnic quotas that were built into the 1924 law were overturned as racist. And it was promised at that time that it wouldn't change the ethnic balance of the country, but certainly in the minds of the activists who were behind it, that was just a ruse. They knew darn well that it was going to, that their attempt really was to change the ethnic balance of the country. And after that law was passed, one of the main goals was to simply increase the ceilings on immigration. In other words, to increase the absolute numbers. Once you got rid of ethnic origins as a criterion, other parts of the world were fair game.
Chinese, we just recently had some Croatians. Last summer, a great number of Brazilians. Geez, I think from everywhere. And Guatemalans and Salvadorians and Colombians and you name it.
24 different countries. That includes every single South American and Central American country. It also includes people from Belarus, people from Kazakhstan, Croatians, Jamaicans, Haitians, people from Poland, people from Germany, people from China, people from Korea, people from Pakistan.
Vicente Fox is missing 25 million workers. 25 million workers. So how many illegals are in America? Just from Mexico. Not Brazil, Yemeni, China, everywhere else. There's got to be over 30 million illegals in this country.
At the time of the 1965 immigration law, it was widely stated by Teddy Kennedy and many others that this act would not change the ethnic balance of the country. And yet the very same people who were behind this law immediately, as soon as it was passed, did everything they could to increase the numbers to the point now where it's about 1 million legal immigrants a year plus uncounted hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to hear from the founder of the Minuteman Project? Yeah! Well, here he is. Here he is, the founder of the Minuteman Project, Mr. Gil Crest. Welcome to Arizona. One of 50 states represented here. Just a reminder that we are ambassadors from our communities, from our states, from all 49 other states. The impression that we leave on this great state of Arizona is going to be a lasting one. And we are here under the First Amendment. We are here to assemble and march peacefully. and observe and report peacefully and respectably. Along with that, you know, there's a little addendum. We also have to eliminate, by a voting process, those 2/3 members of our Congress, state and local, federal politicians and their appointees who have turned their face on our Constitution and against us. And we put them in office.
Hey, that's true.
And they're the same ones who now cater to our critics and call us vigilantes.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna show you an armed vigilante right here.
These are our weapons.
Now here's a man about 65 years old. He's got binoculars and a cell phone. He's obviously as dangerous as a terrorist with a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, they gotta redo all this. So hang around. I can't.
We've been hearing about this Minuteman project for quite some time, and we felt it was quite a concern, quite a topic of importance. So we thought because we were so close, we have to definitely come out here and be a part of this. So it's a real crux of the matter here as to, this illegal immigration, which is illegal. And we've also heard quite a bit about the fact that I believe one of the movie actors almost was telling his people, the Mexican people, that come right on in and just take over the border and push yourselves in. Pretty soon we'll own this country. So, that's not a very peaceful sounding situation. And I know that they're also saying that the Mexican president is telling their people through the government agencies how to get in illegally and how to come in and have your baby here and become an American citizen. We're not into all of that either. And so we love America. So we believe that there is something to protecting it. We don't really know what the solution is. So that's why we're here.
What caused me to get involved is seeing the changes all over the country, even out in the small town of Mojave where I live, where we have a great number of illegal immigrants, or undocumented as they want to call them in a politically correct fashion, who are in the welfare systems. They're everywhere. It's having seen over the last 30 years the great changes that have taken place over America, where construction workers who are naturalized Americans and Americans have been dismissed and their jobs taken for a fraction of the wage by illegal aliens, mostly Mexicans. I've seen America change, or changing, into a third world country, and I see that our federal government does nothing more than to encourage that. And for that reason, I am here as a Minuteman to do the last thing that we can do in order to make our government, without practicing violence, do its job.
This right now, it's very important that we exercise all of our rights and that we do everything we can within the means of peaceful action to get because part of the problem is we're having this debate with half of the truth excluded. What we're trying to do is bring up everybody's side is heard. We hear about the poor immigrant. We hear about the poor depressed Mexico. But we don't hear about the poor depressed beat up American who lost his job. We don't hear a lot about that in 2002. The average American lost $1,700 a year to illegal aliens.
She was saying she got fired. She got fired.
She got fired from a job at Costco because she got into a conversation with a Hispanic person, and she was speaking Spanish to them, and this woman made the comment to her that most of us here are us, and I'm here to take advantage of you, and there's nothing you can do about it, basically. And then she just turned around and goes, "This woman told me I have to speak English," and Stephanie never said that. And Stephanie was terminated in her employment. And I'm sure, they would not let Stephanie discuss it with anybody. She doesn't know who the accuser was, but she was just terminated. And Arizona's a right-to-work state, so they don't have to tell her anything.
Well, I just find it ludicrous that our government is in collusion with businesses to make money off the backs of people who are poor and who don't belong here. Whatever happened to fighting for the little guy, to fighting for the person who works hard and plays by the rule? Remember when that used to be the norm? Now nobody's fighting for him. People like us never get mad enough to get out here and do something. And you interview these people. Find one person who's ever been to a political protest. Find one. Name one. First. I may seem crazy and I may seem angry. I'm not angry at the economic refugees leaving Mexico. I am angry at my government, and I am fighting mad, and I am standing up, and I am saying something about it, and they damn well better listen.
To achieve change, you literally have to get out here and do what we're doing. It's going to cost us money, time, a lot of stress and frustration. Most of us would rather be fishing or shopping at Walmart or the mall or wherever you shop.
No Walmart.
Yeah, not Walmart.
This country's founded on blood and sweat!
Memo to self, never mention Walmart again. Memo to self, Walmart goes in the same folder as the ACLU.
Our objective as legal observers is to be a presence to first hopefully deter any abuses of human and civil rights or unlawful behavior, but in the event that that happens, to document it thoroughly with video cameras, still cameras, and notes, and report that to the proper authorities. Given some of the previous incidents that have been reported on the part of what are termed as vigilante groups in this area, and some of the rhetoric from the Minuteman webpage earlier on talking about surprising migrants and convincing them to stay until the Border Patrol arrives, we have some concerns that some of those behaviors may be violations of law.
You know, if it's the American civil liberties, then they should be looking after the civil liberties of Americans.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can call it the Foreign Civil Liberties Union.
Come on, ACLU. Strip me of my First Amendment rights, you bastards. Yeah, you know, this is a raw point with me. I'm a degreed newspaper journalist. My first degree was in newspaper journalism. I wrote for 2 years. Believes in the First Amendment up to about 20 years ago. I avidly supported the ACLU. I am one of their biggest enemies now. I don't see the ACLU. When the ACLU sides with lawbreakers and morally cheap politicians, they are no longer working for
the American people.
The United States of America. They're working for their own agenda, and it's not about objectivity or fairness. It's about selfish acts that could literally border on treason, but we won't go there.
Yes, we will.
There's one in every crowd.
Chris, what's the attitude today among the 400 folks who've shown up already?
Wow, fantastic. These are determined Americans, some of the greatest people I've met. They're motivated, and they already understand that they've succeeded by taking the first step, getting out of their Barca lounger and turning off the television and coming out and actually doing something that's real.
Every coyote from here to Yucatan knows that this is going on. So they're going to be looking for other places to go, different ways to get into the country. But what does that tell you? It tells you that you can, in fact, secure the border. That if you do bring people and resources to the border, you can actually stop the flow of folks coming into this country illegally. We can stop it here in this chunk. We can stop it and expand it throughout the 4,800 and some miles of border. So you can control the border. And what I've said to folks out here that's important to understand is that we choose not to. We choose not to. It is an absolute choice that this government has made.
Since Wednesday, I have never seen such a concentration of Border Patrol in this area. That's right. And all the time I've been out here. Now, that's for you. They want you to think it looks like that all the time. And I can tell you it does not. They promised us 500 new Border Patrol agents, but 100 of them are here now, and they've been pulled from other communities. That's right. Which are getting hammered by illegals right now, and smugglers and drug dealers.
You know, the president disagrees with, I guess, Webster's dictionary about what the word amnesty means. But, you know, he's saying, I'm opposed to amnesty. I'm opposed to amnesty. And that means he says, I will not give these people immediate access to citizenship. Well, you know what, Mr. President, that's about 10 steps past amnesty. You know, amnesty is when you do not apply the penalty to the violation of a particular law. And if you do not, in fact, apply a penalty for people who have come into this country illegally, if you tell them you can stay, here's what you do, you sign up for jobs. Jobs is not a penalty. No.
Congressman, there is 11 million undocumented or illegal aliens in this country.
At minimum.
How do you propose to address their situation if you don't want an amnesty?
We did it in the 1980s, the mid-1980s. We went through an amnesty. That was supposed to have solved the whole problem. What did it cause? It caused, of course, huge numbers of people to come in the country. That, along with having countries like Mexico and others turn into countries that actually desire to export their population. Now that's another amazing thing. The exportation of their own population. And again, you want to know why? I told somebody earlier today, says, well, what do you think we're not securing the border for? I said, follow the money. There are people who make a lot of money out of cheap labor. Follow the money when it comes to why Mexico and other countries have turned into these lobbyists for open borders. Why is it that every single time the president meets with the president of Mexico or a lot of other countries in Central and South America, that the one issue that they demand that he address is the immigration issue? And they demand essentially open borders. Why are they doing that? It's called remittances. The hundreds of up to about $100 billion a year flowing out of this country into other countries. Remittances now, just this last month, I understand, became the largest source of income for Mexico. It now surpasses Pemex, which was at first the largest source.
Chris, just to clarify the statement on the leaflet here about the demonstrators. Be careful with the media; they can be the enemy. Do you consider us the enemy?
Depends upon how your story turns out.
The media for the LA Times, ABC, CBS, NBC, with the exception of Fox, and we've lost O'Reilly on this subject. The greatest champion right now is Lou Dobbs. The media just won't touch it. And if they do, they'll usually lie about it.
The media is complicit with our government in covering this up. The media doesn't put on the front page of the papers about American citizens having to shoot at drug dealers coming across his border and then having a group of them come back and shoot his house to pieces and burn his trailer. Those are the stories that should be on the front pages of the newspaper. Not some poor migrant died in the darn desert who knew what chances they were taking. Political correctness is another component of surveillance mentality in this country.
Everybody is cowed, they're intimidated, and they're herded like cows. And instead of a cattle prod, they use words. And these people are masters at using these words in the propaganda.
You don't make anything better by adding 30 million Mexicans to it, do you? No American would agree with that. And yet no American would stand up in public and say it. And that's a symbol that we're not free. We may be a lot of things, but we're not free. When people are afraid to speak the obvious, you're not free.
They reach out with that one word and say, you're a racist, and any American who hears that word will lie down his arms, open up his wallet, and empty it to anyone who says that.
¡Viva la raza!
Don't touch me. Don't touch me, ma'am. I'm right here. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Racist. Go home. Racist. Go home. Racist. Don't touch me. Racist. Go home. 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 Thank you very much.
This is my land. A native motherfucker. I will take care of you. I will.
Hispanics, united.
Never been defeated.
Latinos, united.
We'll never be defeated. La raza unida jamás será vencida. La raza unida jamás será vencida.
Go back to Europe. Go back to Europe. That's your land. Europa, Europe, whatever the hell you want to call it. That's your land. Go home. Go to Europe. Go back home. Good. I got two. Good. Go back.
I'll give you attention, baby. You want attention? Come here. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. Come here. I come
Come here, baby. Oh, come, I love you, baby.
This is my land.
The migrants gonna take you back to Europe. We're natives from this land. Look at your face in the mirror. You're not from here. This is our land. Thief. Thief. This is our land. This is our land. You
You're probably a fucking drug dealer, too.
You know what, we're standing up for our country, and we're just saying, you know what, this is the United States of America, we love it, and if people want to tell us that this is not the United States of America, but it's really Aztlan, or whatever, however that is pronounced, I'm not going to sit by on my couch and get fat while my country disappears.
It's sort of the old socialist concept, what's mine is what's yours is negotiable, right? And so they're taking over, and you're a racist pig if you resist. And even if you don't resist, you're still a white gringo pig.
Let's kick that gringo in the ass. Come on. Let's go.
To me, it's the people that are racists are the ones saying that Mexicans are allowed to do whatever they want, and that Mexicans are above the law, and that Mexican sovereignty overrules American sovereignty on American soil. And to me, that is incredibly racist.
Says that
people are dying for their freedom.
ready to fight. All right, you have to fight. You have to fight for what? Because we are invading. No, let's talk about invasion. Invasion is what happened with the land that used to be Mexican that was taken away from Mexico. Now, an invasion is also.
Well, who gave it to Mexico? Spanish gave it to Mexico.
Whatever happened, I don't give a damn.
They think that they own the Southwest and they want to take it back over. And that, you know, my understanding is a few years ago, Vicente Fox stood up and said, "We'll take the U.S. by sheer numbers. We'll just migrate there. We don't even have to fire a gun." And you know what? He's right. It's our federal government so far up his ass.
These people are serious. They represent a very tiny part of this massive group of over 500 organizations, 500 PACs that are influencing our policy.
La Raza, the race.
Yeah.
We have a big La Raza movement in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And La Casa por la what are they called? Chicanos.
Yeah.
And oh, the list goes on. There's so many Hispanic organizations, and if you had one white organization, they would be screaming racism. How dare you be a white Anglo-Saxon?
The glaring double standard that we see here is apparent to anybody who even takes a casual look, and yet we still don't see any awareness of this in the media. You don't see any discussion of that. Very interesting to look at what Jewish organizations have done recently. They have allied with Mexican American groups, other Hispanic groups. They've allied with Asian groups. They've allied with black groups. In other words, they see themselves as part of a coalition of ethnic groups. And they, very self-consciously so. And those groups are going to become increasingly strong as time goes on because they're representing a greater and greater percentage of the population. But they see themselves, I think, as they have from the time they got here, as opposing the interests of European Americans. I don't think there's any question about that.
As I always say, I've got two big problems in the Congress of the United States trying to deal with this. One's the Democratic Party, sees massive immigration, both legal and illegal, as a source of voters. The other side is the Republican Party, that sees massive immigration, both legal and illegal, as a source of cheap labor. We cannot secure those borders because of those two problems.
So you have a coalition of groups who are open borders advocates, including the left wing, including some right wing, big business, okay, National Restaurants Association, now also the AFL-CIO. The American people are caught in the middle. You've got big people on the right and big people on the left getting ready to nail their butts to the cross, I'll tell you.
People talk about, the people who oppose immigration, they talk about, well, there are economic problems and this and that. No one simply says, Europeans are not going to benefit from this as a group, that we are giving up control of our country to other peoples, that there's a huge problem with this, that when you are a minority group, you better hope that the other groups in society are nice to you. Well, we Europeans should be concerned that our future will be as a minority group, and we will then be at the whim of coalitions that may have very hostile intent towards us, that we will lose control of our own future. That's the issue here. It's as simple as that. But even raising European ethnic interest is the big taboo of this period right now. We can't even raise the possibility that Europeans have ethnic interests. It's the taboo topic. And yet everybody else has ethnic interests, which are legitimate.
The idea that diversity is a strength in mixing people, it's not a strength. The strength comes from the homogeneity and having people who are basically alike. I mean, diverse people break up because they don't want to be around the other people. They may be able, the best you can do in diversity would be something like Switzerland, where and there you have it decentralized, so they each have their little cantons and their little things, so they don't get on each other's nerves too much. You better believe the more diverse they were, the more different they are, the more hostile they're going to be, the more they're going to fight and hate each other. That's just natural. You don't see diverse species getting together and mingling in nature. You see them avoiding each other or fighting for territory. And the white man knows all this. He doesn't know it at the level of facts and specific understandings, but the idea of the zeitgeist, he senses the spirit of the times. No rational person would open the border with Mexico for 100 reasons.
I think that ethnic conflict, we can already see that on the horizon. And I think we're already getting to the point in this country, white people are now 70%. As you get towards 50%, you're going to see increasing amounts of that. Where other ethnic groups are simply going to start flexing their muscles, and they're going to demand, as we see now, a greater presence of, say, Spanish in the public place. We're going to see more Spanish spoken in public arenas. We're going to see the decline of Western culture. We're going to see increases in affirmative action directed at underachieving minorities. And actually, affirmative action is a good example. University admissions. I mean, going to university, especially prestigious universities, is one of the tickets to upward mobility in the society. Well, you have different ethnic groups achieve at different levels. Asians achieve at levels higher than Europeans. So Europeans are going to get caught in the middle, and they're going to get caught between a very high-achieving Asian group, Jewish groups at the high end, and then between masses of Mexicans and blacks at the bottom, who are going to want equal representation. And I think young white people are going to feel the brunt of this. The fact is, one of the problems I think right now is that most middle-class white people don't feel these pressures. Their children are going to feel them, and I think it's the children who are going to change and start to exert their interest. Because if they don't exert their interest, they're going to be the first group in history that hasn't exerted their interest. And it's as simple as that.
The problem is for the next generation. That's when the hurt's going to come about. You know, you can't have a country, I think the Roman Empire proved it. The Roman Empire was very aggressive, was very strong. They ruled half of the world, I guess. And so what happened after they ruled half of the world? They got soft in body and mind. They had all these slaves come and do all their work and did everything for them. So what happens? Eventually the slaves took over. The Roman Empire just was thrown away. You got to stay organized. One language, one group of people.
I told you about Jose Angel Gutierrez. There he is right there. And he is the guy who said, we have to kill, we have got to eliminate the gringo. And what I mean by that is if worse comes to worse, we have to kill him. And he admits that he says that. And here is what are we talking about here? Arcturus' Prop 187 was the last gasp of white America in California, and these other people say if you don't like the Hispanization, go back to Europe. So I don't know what it's going to take for the American people to wake up. I have an idea, much like 9/11, it's going to take a lot of blood in the streets. That's the usual course of events in politics. It takes a lot of blood to make a difference. Blood speaks louder than words. And so my words have been essentially muted over the last almost decade and a half, silenced, but I think the blood will speak soon enough when this finally erupts into what I would consider is going to be a sort of civil war. And when that happens, I hope that there will be these documents, this record, somewhere, someone will have it somewhere that said, hey, I told you so, but nobody listened. Not just to me, they didn't even listen to the invaders.